Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show, ladies and gentlemen. Don't touch that remote. Got a great show here. I got two guests here that I've known for many years. And I mean good friends. Someone that, well, the one guest, his father was state judge, Superior Court, I think it was Superior Court.
President
right?
Judge. Mm-hmm.
And he was a Montgomery County Court judge. But the most important thing, he was a big fight fan, and he used to come to the Spectrum and to the arena to watch Hank Cisco rough-read the fights. You'd think that I was fighting. I had a big crowd there. Had all different, Judge Moss and the whole gang, you know. And then Judge Cirillo would always take his son, you know, to the fights, ringside, you know, Greg, you know, and he was a great fight fan. So now he's running for judge in Montgomery County. Born and raised in Montgomery County. He don't come from Hong Kong, Yokohama, or anything. Montgomery County judge. He knows the people. He knows the town. Now, that's part of it. Now, my guests, and here we got Sandra Newman, who was a former Supreme Court justice. She's the first woman Supreme Court justice in the state of Pennsylvania. She was the first assistant DA in Montgomery County courts. And she did a lot of things. And I helped her campaign. We had little fortune cookies, and we had on there, vote for Sandra Newman, buona fortuna. I mean, good fortune in Italian. And she won the election. So they're both here, and now Sandra is helping a friend become judge here in Montgomery County. So I am here to hear what he has to say, what he has to offer. We need good judges, okay? Now, in this corner, Greg, tell me now, why do you want to become a judge?
Hank, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on this show. There are a lot of great memories with you going back to
oh my God.
1972. I was an 11-year-old boy those days you're talking about. And I remember them like they were yesterday, but the old Spectrum.
Yeah.
But, you know, Hank, you know the family, and you've known me a long time.
Right, right.
And I want to be a judge at this point in my life because public service was something that was always in my family. As you know, my dad was a first assistant district attorney in Montgomery County Court of Common Pleas judge.
Right.
He became the president judge of the Superior Court of Pennsylvania. And I remember as a little boy, Hank, going down to the courthouse and watching trials when there were snow days. My mom was at work, and he'd drag us to the courthouse.
Right, right.
And watching trials at the old Montgomery County Courthouse.
You sat there and watched the
Yeah,
court. You know?
all the old timers down there, Milton
You know,
Moss.
when I was a policeman and I had a case, I wouldn't sit out in the hall. I would sit in the courtroom and hear different judges. You know, each judge has a different personality or whatever. And you learn by sitting in the court rather than sitting in the hall talking about Bapa-da-boop and Babalujas and Bacalao, you know. So, I'm happy. Now, a good fighter always needs a good trainer, and it needs a good manager in the corner to tell him where to punch and where to go, where to do. And here, the trainer in your corner. Sandra Newman, tell us now what the scoop is.
Let me tell you, I left the Supreme Court. I lost my husband. I felt like I wanted to
he was a great guy. Oh, my God.
Great man.
Dr. Nose. He would operate on noses.
And then he became Dr. Lipo because he brought liposuction over
What's that mean?
from Italy, where they take the fat out.
Take the fat.
Like,
maybe a little bundle here.
a little bundle here, a little bundle there. But Greg's dad, Vince Cirillo, was our very dearest friend in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And he was also my mentor. He didn't teach me law because I went to law school, but he taught me how to practice law. And we were best friends. And when I heard Greg was running, I thought I have won 3 statewide elections. And I thought I could really help him. And I'm having a great time doing it. I'm with him night and day. We plan trying to figure out how we can get a picture of him with the Pope today.
I don't know. Well, I'm going to say here. Here it is. Happy Pope Day. Okay?
Yay.
Like Happy New Year, Happy Pope Day. Now, another thing, for my Jewish friends, there's a greeting. I forgot it, you know. My father was partners with a Jewish shoemaker. They were partners, and he used to speak a little, I knew a little bit of Jewish language. But tell me a good greeting you do on the holiday.
It's not Jewish, it's Hebrew, but it's Lashana Tova.
What's that?
Lashana Tova.
What's it mean?
A good new year to you.
What?
Lashana, a good new year to you.
Oh.
This is our new year. Yesterday we brought in a new year.
You brought a new year. Mm-hmm. And then you say Happy New Year.
And we say Happy New Year, a happy and healthy new year too.
Happy Pope Day. All right, now, this is a tough fight, right?
Right.
You're in there, you're making different stops, right?
The whole county.
Let me just say one thing about your dad. Your dad made history here, not only in Pennsylvania, but all over. He was the last one to prosecute a murderer that went to the electric chair, the last one to go to the electric chair. And I remember that when he was in court, and your dad, big, 200 and some over pounds, and he said to him, "Why did you kill that girl? Why didn't you pick on me?" You know, oh my God, I was in the courtroom like, whoo, you know. But
I remember
and he was
reading
found
about
a
that.
conviction, and he's the last one to get in the electric chair.
You know, Hank, I'm familiar with that case. I remember in high school, I was born in 1961, so I'm 54 years old. But I think it was a brutal rape murder in 1960.
Right, yeah.
And actually,
Marianne
Mitchell in
Right.
Roxborough. And it was a brutal rape murder. And I
know.
remember I did a term paper.
I was a policeman at the time. Right,
That's
go ahead.
right. And I remember doing a paper on the death penalty when I was in high school. And my mom had kept all those scrapbooks. And back then, there was no internet computers, and I consolidated them all, and I wrote a paper on it. And I know he died in the electric chair in 1962, I think it was.
Yeah.
But it was a terrible,
Elmo Smith.
terrible crime. Elmo Smith, yes.
Yeah. Well, when he was in prison, and they going to change a venue, rather than being tried here in Montgomery County, he complained he wouldn't get a fair, so they had the trial up in Gettysburg. So they had to move him from the prison to Gettysburg. So he was in the prison, and the car was waiting out here at the church to take him up to Gettysburg, right? And next thing you know, they said a rumor was out that when he come out of that jail, somebody was going to shoot him, you know, so they had a lot of security there. And next thing you know, he comes rushing out, and I'm standing by the car, open the door, and he's going in. And he was right there on an alley where there's a one-way sign, and right over his head was a sign, one way. He went to Gettysburg and never came back.
Okay.
But
It's a new story. I didn't know that.
When he dominated that courtroom, so you're going to do the same thing.
Do you remember everybody who was involved with the case, Chief Moody and Milt Moss, and they all went to watch the execution? And
Were
Cirillo.
you in that then?
No, I started practicing law in '72.
Oh.
But everybody went to see the execution except Vince Cirillo. He was really a soft-hearted guy and a wonderful man. He had such sympathy for the worst kind of people, and that was so unusual, and I admired him so much for that.
Yeah.
I would have gone.
He did have a lot of
No, I don't
compassion.
think-
I learned a lot of that compassion,
I don't know.
fairness, and justice
Well, let me say this.
from him.
I'm a policeman 25, 26 years in Norristown, county detective. So after all these years, get a policeman, I get kind of mellow. I think that they should get rid of the electric chair. I think they should
They
get rid of.
did.
Wait a minute.
He did get rid
Wait,
of
I want them to get rid of the electric chair. I want them to use a bench and get 6 at a time.
That's me, yeah.
No, but I'm telling you, because they say, well, they get real appeal, and all that stuff before they get sentenced. So when they sit in that chair, that's it. Okay, right.
And now it's a lethal injection. It's not the electric chair, and very rarely do you ever hear of anybody getting the death penalty. In fact, recently the governor cut off all death penalty cases, and the Supreme Court reinstated them.
Well, I'm going to start. That's another issue. We'll bring that on another time. Okay. Now, I was watching the Pope today, and he had lunch with the homeless in a local charity in Washington. So, and you were involved with helping the homeless. You know, that's what I like to see, when somebody does something more than just he's getting paid. You're doing this here to help somebody. You're helping the homeless. You're helping the poor.
Well, you know, Hank, I was never a TV watcher, so when I was a young attorney, I started my career with that prestigious law firm, Dilworth Paxson, under the tutelage of Bruce Kaufman, who was a Supreme Court justice. and he became a federal judge. But when I was young, I got active in the Bar Association, became a Board of Governor member. I was on the Young Lawyer section of the Bar Association, and I always got involved with those kind of projects. I actually helped start the homeless program, the homeless advocacy program, with that group at Marcia Cohen back in 1990 with one of my partners at Dilworth.
That's when nobody was
Yeah,
talking about the
right.
homeless or...
A guy named Steve Goodman, God rest his soul, he's passed away now, at Dilworth. And I got real active with that. I got involved in pro bono stuff, helping poor people, like you said. I dealt with that because I realized, you know, it was important to do. I mean, we're very fortunate to be where we are in society. And I've been recognized for that, actually, by the First Judicial District for exemplary service, and I received a pro bono award also.
Yeah.
Ran the United Way campaign at my law firm for 5 or 6 years.
Well, you know, here's your flyer, and you said here, you were recommended by the Bar Association. In
Yeah.
other words, the Bar Association means all the lawyers
Right.
agree that you're the man for that kind of
Right,
job.
right. How that works, Hank, is
What's that mean?
what it means
What's
is
that mean?
What that means is you get called in by the Bar Association to evaluate, the Judicial Evaluation Committee, because they want to make sure you have good judges. So everybody that wants to run for judge appears before the Judiciary Committee, and they put you in a room around a table, or there's like a U. You sit right here, and you get grilled by about 25 lawyers who are very qualified on all your credentials, qualifications, what you've accomplished. And when I came out of that, they recommended me for the position of judge. So I was happy that I was able to get through the
Right,
Judiciary Committee, and they found me recommended to be a judge.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, getting that kind of endorsement is good. It's not like getting endorsement from a guy that grows flowers out in Yokohama or something, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that is like a good seed that will grow. Now, I know for a fact, FOP. Now, what's that mean? FOP means Fraternal Order of Police. That means, you know, state police, local police, you know, and they endorse you. And
Right.
it's so important because I know, as a police officer, when I make an arrest, I go through an investigation and get all the evidence together, and then it goes to the district attorney goes, and it goes before the judge. You
Right,
know.
that's an important thing too. I know your whole career was in law enforcement. I'm happy to report that you mentioned that. The FOP actually endorses, you know, judges. And I believe I'm one of 2 judges that's FOP endorsed. Our district attorney is and I am. And I don't
District
believe,
attorney from Montgomery
yeah,
County.
and I don't think any other judges were FOP endorsed.
That's Reese Affirmative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I know it's so important when you go through all that investigation and all that there, and then you go before a judge, and the judge turns around and mushu. You know, when you get a mushu judge, that means he's like, you know, it's a hug without a squeeze. You know, you want to be a hug and a squeeze. All right? All right. Next. Now, tell me the biggest case you handled.
Well, on the Supreme Court, I wrote an opinion. It was called Sezahan versus Sezahan. And it was a man who was found guilty in the Court of Common Pleas of Philadelphia and appealed to our court, which is the direct appeal for homicide cases. And he was found guilty, but he was not sentenced to the death penalty. So we found that he had an unfair trial, and we sent him back to have a new trial in the Court of Common Pleas of Philadelphia. And he was found guilty and given the death penalty. And he came before us on the issue of whether he could get the death penalty after he got life in prison, and whether it was...
You mean you already got a sentence?
Yes, he's claiming it was double jeopardy. He got 2 sentences.
Okay.
I wrote the majority opinion, which said that he got a totally new trial and said there was no double jeopardy. And our opinion from our court was 4-3 in favor of giving him the death penalty. And it went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they voted 5-4 in favor of my opinion.
How much?
5-4. So it was the same thing, basically. We were
So-
4-3, but he got the death penalty. But nothing ever happened.
Well, you feel good when you get it done.
I felt good not only because I wrote an opinion that I thought was brilliant, but also because the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed it.
You know, when you're on patrol as a policeman and you're driving along and you just wish someday you could, make it a pinch, like a good, arresting somebody's a bank robber or a guy's shooting or something, You'd like to make that. And when you make that arrest and you go through all that investigation and then all of a sudden it, just fades away, that's good. That's why I think Montgomery County's, is pretty good. Not pretty good, real good as far as I'm concerned. Our judges are really good. And I'm very happy that a lot of judges used to come down to see the fights, right?
Remember those days well.
All right, tell me a little bit more about your background as far as education.
Hank, I grew up in Lower Merion Township in Penn Valley, as you know. And I went to Penn Valley Elementary School, and I went to West Valley Junior High School, Harriton High School. It was at Harriton High School where I met my lovely wife, Dorothy. She's also a public servant. She's been a public school teacher for 30 years in the public school system, my wife, Dorothy.
Oh, okay.
So I met her there. And Hank, you'll really appreciate this story. After I get out of Harriton High School, I get into Villanova University. And you knew my dad, so I figured, okay. It's 1979, I graduated Harriton. I figured now I get to go to college and win a college experience. So when I get accepted and I want to go to Villanova University, they tell me you can't live here. Because in those days they didn't have enough housing. Now they want you to live there because they get your money, right? The housing. They have more housing. So I go home and I figure, great, my dad's going to hopefully rent me an apartment. I'll have my own apartment, my own pad. I go home, I say, Dad, I can't live at the school because they don't have enough housing, so I'm not going to be able to be in the dorms. He says, good. You'll stay home, you'll still cut the grass, take care of the house, carry the packages in for your mother, and you'll save me some money. So I still lived in Montgomery County. I never left Montgomery County. And then after Villanova University, I went to Villanova Law School. I lived at home. And I always tell people, with my educational experience, and that's right before I started the Dilworth Paxson Law Firm, I'm pretty boring. I've had one job, one wife, and I lived in one county.
Oh, that's great.
I haven't gone too far.
I have to tell a little story. Your dad used to tell it too. He was at a banquet or a fundraiser at here at a banquet there on DeKalb Street. I can't think, it's closed now. He says, Hank, he says, you want to come with me? I'm gonna campaign up in Hazleton or Scranton. I forget what it was. I said, I'm going to fly up there. I said, all right. Well, I'm nervous about flying, I don't mind getting in a big plane, but I always want to have somebody with me. I fly to Florida, whatever I want. So I said, good, yeah. He said, you want to fly with me? Yeah. So I'll take you down to the airport. Okay. So I'm driving. So I get ready to get on the expressway. He says, no. Go to over here at a little airport, a little
Phoenix.
airplane, So what am I going to do? I said, I'm afraid. I said, okay. Oh, my God.
Wings Field?
Single wing.
Wings Field?
Huh?
Phoenix,
Yeah.
Aviation.
And he had to get on the wing to get in the plane, and it carried two people and the pilot. And I was staying alongside, sitting at the pilot, and your dad was back there. Now, your dad was pretty heavy, and the belt wouldn't go around, right? So he put it around one leg, and we're going. So here I am. I said, Mike, I'm in an airplane. He goes, he's going up. What a feeling. You're looking, you're saying, look, who is this guy? I wonder if this guy, I can't pull over to the side if you get a flat tire or something like it there. It's a feeling, and I'm looking, so I'm not looking down, I'm looking up. So we're coming back, and it was hitting the rain. It started to rain, and the guy, and he didn't have all that electronic stuff to land. And he was going to land, and he's going, I'm looking down. He says, I don't know. He says, I'm looking for the field. I can't find it. The pilot sent us, and your dad saying, what do you mean? You mean? And he's screaming at the pilot. So finally, he says, I'm going to land. He said, and here he was coming down, and it was the turnpike. He was going to land. I said, that's the turnpike. So finally, he kept calling Philadelphia, and they guided him in. And then we got out. Your dad said, really, I don't know. I think when he left us off up there, he must have stopped and had a couple drinks or something because he was hitting on a couple cylinders. But that was.
I'm not one for those little planes either. I don't like those little planes.
And I love the little planes. I felt like I was getting there really fast. I wasn't wasting time. I was getting right to where I had to go. And when you're campaigning, oftentimes the plane waits for you and then takes you to your next campaign stop.
Yeah,
I loved it. My husband didn't like it very much.
No,
He said, I don't want you going on.
You're adventurous.
Yeah, I liked it.
I know. You headed Dilworth United Fund. Tell me something about
United
that.
Way
Dilworth.
Fund. That's something that was a great thing to do too, because the United Way does a lot of great things for people.
That's helping people.
Yeah, so like as well as the pro bono work that I did, and as
And
well
you're
as
on the honor roll.
yeah, I got
What's
the
that?
honor roll for the pro bono award. I got the first judicial district award by Judge Pam Denby for the pro bono award back in, I think it was 2008 or 2009. Yeah,
And
but I did it for a lot of years.
yeah. Now, you're a campaign man, right?
Yep.
So tell me what you got lined up.
Well, next week we have a fundraiser at the Union League for basically a large part of the crowd are lawyers who know Greg. They all know Greg. And then this is great because on Thursday, October 1st, Bobby Rydell is coming to my house.
Oh, yeah.
And he's giving Greg a fundraiser. He was Greg's
Yeah. You
client.
gonna
We
sing?
were all neighbors. What? And I have this piano player coming, and it's going to be, I'm having gourmet Italian food.
Madonna, hey,
I'm
mangia.
telling you.
I know what to say. I can say, hey, gombari,
Si wassanati,
si sona,
la
biscoletto, bum, bum.
Well,
Bobby Rydell, it's,
so I do a lot of fundraising and a lot of that, and I do a lot of get the name out. That's probably the most
Yeah.
important thing we're doing. They got to know the name Greg Cirillo.
Right,
Vote for Greg
That-
Cirillo
that's
on
what it's
November
about.
3rd.
That's what it's about.
That's the main thing. But you need money to be able to print
Right.
those things and do those things, and that's why we have fundraisers.
Transportation and
Yes.
that's, you know, that,
And Greg goes door to door, which is very unusual
Right,
for a
right.
county. We're the third largest county in the state. And this weekend, he's going door to door in Cheltenham. He went door to door last weekend. And he's a great campaigner. He
Oh,
talks to
good.
people, and he likes people.
Right.
He likes
Yeah.
people.
We're doing what we can do, Hank, you know?
Huh?
Just like we always do. We're doing what we can do.
oh, yeah. Well,
Which
you
is a
know,
lot, Greg.
you know, like I helped Joe Smythe campaign. I helped your dad. And we travel all over. We traveled up around Indiantown Gap when he was in the Army. He says when I was in the Army, there was a restaurant outside of Indiantown Gap. He said, let's drive by and see if they're still there.
Well-
The restaurant was there, but nobody knew him or anything. You know, so,
Well, I remember doing that myself when I was at Villanova. I used to drive my dad, Justice McDermott, and Judge Steve McEwen around the state when they ran statewide in 1981. I was
yeah.
20 years old, and so when they needed a driver, I always was a designated driver. But, you know, a little bit more about that afterwards. After I got out of Villanova, you asked me about my education. My only job was at Dilworth-Paxton. I went down to Philadelphia to get out of Montgomery County to practice there
Well,
just
you get-
because my dad
that's good to
was
get
so Montgomery
information.
County. So I
Right.
did that.
Experience.
Yeah, and I worked my way up, and I've been there 29 years. So I've worked my way up from an associate to a partner. I've tried and litigated a wide variety of matters, construction cases, personal injury cases, business cases. And I'm proud to say, Hank, at this stage of my life, I'm now the co-chairman of the firm's litigation department. I've been a leader at the law firm in one of the leadership positions for 15 consecutive years. And I think that's important for the people to know, too, because actually, besides just being in the courtroom, I think that with Montgomery County, I was campaigning with Justice Newman, and we hear these complaints about the backlog. And when I started in Philadelphia, Hank, there was a 7-year backlog on civil cases. And Montgomery County is getting a big backlog, and we need to work together, the 23
Right,
judges, to get rid of that backlog. Because I really do believe justice delayed is justice denied. So I think being a leader is important. I think that's one of the other
got the
qualities
experience of
I have.
making the changes.
And I've also had some judicial experience. I'm a experienced hearing committee member for the disciplinary board of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. And we conduct trials, reinstatements for lawyers that are accused of misconduct. And we write the opinions. So that gives us some experience. And for that. So I've had a broad base of experience that I'm not sure that everybody else could say they've had.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that some of the judges that are sitting down, you know, what do they call it, sitting judges, remember your dad, you know.
I hear that all over the county too, you know,
so,
I do.
And so you were brought up, you know, just like a fighter, you know, you learn how to bob and weave, and you know.
There he is, bobbing and weaving again, Justice.
Always. He
Always
used to come
bobbing
in
and
my
weaving.
office and say, "We bobbing and weaving
Bob and weave,
today."
you know, and it's so important, you know. What I like about you is the fact that not only you're a judge, but you're worrying about, not worrying, but you you care about, and you work with homeless, with the people, with the poor, and that's what's making the Pope so popular.
Well,
He was walking, as I left the show to come here, I was watching a little TV, he was walking in the crowd, you know, with all these homeless people right there bumping into him,
I
you
saw
know.
that too.
And, you know, if you want to swim, you got to get in the water.
Well, Hank,
you know.
I was raised
This guy standing there, oh yeah, you know, you got to get right in there.
Well, Hank, I was raised that way. You know, I tell people also, you knew my dad. I'm a man of the people. I'll never have that black robe disease. People know when you get before me, if I'm elected judge, and I'm privileged enough to do that, you know, I'll be a normal person that I've always been. You'll get your day in court. You'll get a fair shake, and the public interest will be served.
And then Judge Morse was a good friend of your dad.
One of
You
his
know,
best
he was
friends.
great, you know.
One of the few times I saw my father cry. When Judge Moss, he got the call, I think it was around
Yeah,
Christmas
I got a
Eve.
picture of holding him up at the
Yeah.
ringside.
We were with him when he passed away at age 49, by the way.
Oh, my God.
It's
It was at
terrible.
a Christmas party.
Christmas time.
And they had a great group of judges right down the hallway. There was Mason African, Horace Davenport, and Vince Cirillo, and they all had a good time. And Milt, and by the way, Milt was the one that hired me as the first assistant DA in Montgomery County.
Who?
Milt Moss.
Oh, yeah?
He was the district attorney when I applied for the job. Yep.
Yeah.
And after that, as years passed, we became very close friends.
Well-
So here I was friendly with Vince, friendly, you know, with Milt.
And Milt Morse has hired me, the county detective.
How about that?
I was Norristown policeman, and I got that thing, and I was suing the borough because they cheated me on the lieutenant's test, which I took it to the Commonwealth Court and won. And he called me, he says, Hank, come on over, I got an opening for this county detective. So I says, I'm over here in the middle of this thing. He says, well, he says, you'll win that case, then come over. I says, okay. He says, get out of that rat race, you know. I says, Judge, I'm going to get the rats out of the race. And about a week later, I won the case, and he hired me as a county detective. You know what? The half hour's over. Give me something, 30 seconds. What are you going to do?
Well, listen, we're working hard. We really want to get through the next, I think it's 40 days, 39, 40 days. I don't like to say that because Justice Newman,
I don't want to hear it.
she yells at me because she says we're running out of time. But we're working hard. We're getting to the people. We really want to make sure that our message gets out there. We're trying to raise money to get our message out there. We think we're the most qualified person to be a judge, and I hope that I can sit on the judge and honor Justice Newman, my father's, and your tradition there at the Montgomery County Courthouse.
And I hear Vince Cirillo with my husband up there saying, Greg and Sandra, you got to be tough. You got to work 24 hours a day. Go, guys, go.
And that's what he's doing. And happy Pope Day. Maybe to get the Pope to vote. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing us to come into your home, and I appreciate it that my good friends, I'm here so many years later, and it's really, it sort of hits my heartstrings, and I had a heart operation up there, so it's in good shape now. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and God bless each and every one of you. Until we meet again, Allah salud. Come on, over here. Good luck.
To
Allah
November
salud.
3rd.
To your health,
To November
baby.
3rd
If you
election.
got your health, you got everything. Right.